Welcome to this lab. In this lab, we're going to create a new method called set layer using Getstring. So we will still be using the Getstring function. So let's get going with completing the code. So now, since we are dealing with the layer objects or layer table, let us now create a transaction. Document the transaction manager that start transaction. Okay, so we need to get the layer table. So I hope you still recall how to do it based on our layer demos. So layer table has its own object called layer table. So let's just call this as ly tab trans.get object. So it's coming from the database, then layer table ID, and we open it for read as a layer table. Next, let us now prompt the user to enter a layer that we will set as a current layer. So to do that, we have this prompt string options. Let's just call that prompt again, and then new prompt string options, and then we'll type in here enter layer to make the current layer. Then we should not allow the spaces, so the value should be false, because AutoCAD does not allow a layer with the space in between them. So now let us get the results of the user using a prompt result. So prompt result, let's call this as result edt that get string and the prompt. Okay, now we need to validate the result, that status equals prompt status at OK. So now we can get the layer name. String, let's say layer name equals result dot string result. Okay, so which means that there is a value that's being entered here. However, we still have to validate that value. So in order to do that, let's just put here a comment, check if the entered layer name exists in the layer database, because we cannot just set the layer that the user entered here, whatever string or whatever value, otherwise it will cause an error. So if the layer from the ly tab that has a layer name, if there is a layer of that name equals true, then set the layer current. So db, remember the setting the layer, c layer equals ly tab and the layer name. Okay, then commit the transaction, since that's just our objective. Once we validate the value that's being entered, then we set it as current layer, and that's it. However, if there is no such layer name, so we need to have an else code block here. Just the application that show alert dialog. It's just the layer name you entered does not exist, just to let the user know that they entered the wrong layer. Also, we need to handle the else statement here. In here we are assuming that the user entered some values here, but if there is no value entered, then we have to handle that as well. So we'll just say application that show alert dialog, no layer entered, and that's about it. Okay, so this is very familiar to you already, and this one as well. So this is just, we prompted the user to enter the layer and we get the results. We validate if there is a value entered. If there is, then we get the name of the layer. Then we also validated if that particular layer exists in our layer table in here. If it is, then we set it as current layer and we commit the transaction. Otherwise, we message the user that the layer does not exist in the drawing. So let's save this, and let me just close this AutoCAD here. Do a rebuild. And let me open AutoCAD again. Let us open these blocks and tables. Okay, so let us load our plugin. Let's see what's the current layer. The current layer is 0. Let's type in maybe walls and doors or power. So our plugin name is set layer using Getstring. Okay, now we are prompted to enter the layer to make current. Let's say walls. That's it. So if we check the layer now, the walls is now the current layer. Alright, let's try again. Set layer using Getstring. If let's say I type in anything, whatever, the layer that you entered does not exist. Okay, so let's try one more time. Let's say this time cabinet 3. Oops, set this one here, cabinet 3. Yeah, we check now our layer. Cabinet 3 is the current layer. Okay, so that's about it for Getstring. So but give it a try. Try prompting for some other objects and do some validations and see the results. Alright, I'll see you in the next video.